Today we have a crowded house today because we are doing our first ever live promo stream, which was something that we conceived, I think, was it like New Year's Day? So we were probably hungover and insane. Who knows? As always, I'm Lisa Daly. I have my fabulous and talented regular co-host with me today. CARROW Brown is here, yay! And the story detective Robert Jones is here, yay! And we have a couple of special guests. We're going to have like 3 special guests because today we are talking about all of the awful stuff that we have to do as authors, otherwise, aka platform building. So we're going to do that. Ooh, we're starting to get some comments in. Hello, everybody. Welcome. So we're going to start off with today talking to Beth Wilson, who is the social media manager for Ocean View Publishing, which is a mid-sized publisher of mysteries, thrillers, and suspense. And so I have been really impressed by the fact that Ocean View Publishing's social media has really sort of taken a step up lately. And Beth is the person who has really kind of been leading the charge. And Instagram is kind of her little area of specialty. So I think that's really cool. And I wanted to talk to her about that. So as we're getting started, here, I'm going to have, let's see. Oh my gosh, we have so many nice comments. Naked Firefly is here. Hello. Steven's Writing Corner is here. SAVI. Did I not send you the link? Yes, I will. I'm sorry. We're so excited today. All right, give me a couple minutes and I'll do that. All right. Michael is here. That's fantastic. Sorry, SAVI's like in the cold today. Sorry about that. We'll get you in, baby. All right. Devin's here. Hello, Devin. Elizabeth's here. Oh my gosh, you guys, we have a great crowd this morning. Okay, here's Lisa, I can't get on this stream. You know, I had this thing in my head, like, I know I'm forgetting something. What could that be? Cachet here. Whoop, whoop. All right. There you go. See how Savvy always with the like names. I love that. All right, fantastic. NIHILIST GEEK is here. Obviously, he's here on the screen. Yay. Dana's here. Oh my gosh, we have such a good crowd today. I'm so excited. All right, so here's what we're going to do. I read a statistic the other day. I want to know what you guys think about this. International Thriller Writers, which puts out a magazine for thriller writers and the thriller community, commissioned a study about how much social media authors should be doing. And the answer they came back with was 8 hours a week. That's a freaking day. A day. Mm-hmm. So here's what I want to know. First, do you think that number is completely insane? And second, what do you hate most about author platform building? So that's what I want to know in the comments, and I want to go through the group really fast, and then we're going to talk to Beth about what she does for Ocean View, and in particular, her strategies for doing well on Instagram, because Instagram has like really become a very large book review platform. Like we think about it's just pretty pictures of your lunch, right? But there are bookstagrammers on there that have thousands and thousands of followers. And so we got to know how to do that. All right, fantastic. Okay, CARROW, what do you think? 8 hours a day? Or 8 hours, not 8 hours. It just feels like 8 hours a day. 8 hours a week on social media. Is that insane or true?
I think that's actually true, because you're looking at basically spending a little over an hour a day doing something involving social media. And if you take into account that you're more beneficial on social media when you're posting and engaging, engaging is actually what's going to take you more time. Because I can literally, in like, I want to say probably like 2 hours set up like buffer.
Right.
To go and have all my stuff posted, but what eats up my time is going through the comments, responding, and then not only do I have to be involved with my post, I have to go and be involved in other people's posts. I have to go like them, I have to go comment and all that other stuff, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of what some people forget about with social media is that it's social. You know, you have to go be social. You have to go interact with other people.
It's not just about posting the ads. Yes, which is funny because Beth and I were actually talking about that beforehand. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Story Detective Robert Jones. Let's have it. Is 8 hours a week reasonable, or is that totally
I think it's very reasonable. I spent a lot of time studying, which is how I became the story detective. But I looked at people who are successful self-publishing before I even considered it. And most of them, even if they had just one platform, they would come on like an hour to an hour and a half at the end of every day, answer questions and engage with people. And, you know, it worked for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Reasonable. What about you, NIHILIST? Now, I know that you are, you're a social media expert. So my guess is you're like 8 hours a week. That's not enough. What say you?
I have to be paid more.
More.
So 8 hours a week is ridiculous. Do you know what the wages are here?
Yeah.
I mean, you should probably do 60 hours a week and pay me for that.
Oh my God. When are we supposed to write? 60 hours
well, 8 hours is reasonable, but it all comes down to your business plan, to be honest, and your return on investment. I think it's possible you can do 2 hours a week and have a healthy revenue, or you can do 20 hours a week and crickets.
Yeah.
So it's a new strategy, but 8 hours is reasonable for somebody having a day job or being a full-time writer, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to hear more about the 2 hours a week thing because that sounded pretty good to me. All right. Cachet says she expected the number to be higher. 8 seems mild. Doesn't it feel like more sometimes? I guess it depends. There are some platforms, like I could interact on YouTube all day long. I love it. And in fact, sometimes I do, which is why I'm not writing as much lately. But some of the other platforms I really struggle with, or they really sort of take a long time. All right. So, Beth, tell us a little bit about what, okay, so you had some good sense. You know, I just like totally random. Do you have a question? Are you waving your hand?
No, well, actually, I am trying to get your attention to remind you that she's got a 5-second delay. So when you ask her, you have to wait for her to hear and then
for me to respond. Well, and you know how it is. I just jabber on and on. Okay. Ready? Here's the question. First, how come everybody else has super pretty posts on Instagram? I have like had so many people ask me that question, like, do they have to hire a professional designer? Is that a thing? And I know some people do. In fact, sometimes I think people hire you. But are there some tools that we can use to make our posts better?
So if you want to, hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, we can.
Okay, this is going to be a lovely delay. So when it comes to tools, I would suggest using something that's like a platform for either posting or a platform for creating. So we have something like Canva, which is a lot of fun. A lot of free tools they have on the site or on the app, depending on which one you want to use. You can use it to grab a lot of images that they have available for free. Fonts, they have a lot of different elements. So if you want to put like a bunch of stick figures on a post and have a quote from Moby Dick, you could. However, the only downside to Canva is the fact that you can't tinker with words as much as I would like. So have words that have like 2 tones within the same word. So you can use something like WordSwag. Use that.
Ooh, WordSwag.
So
I love that. I love that. Yeah. This was me. I love WordSwag. I love WordSwag. CARROW is actually like a Canva expert. She's going to talk about that later. So you also mentioned some tools to pre-post your posts, which CARROW had mentioned Buffer. That's what I actually use. Are there other tools that you really like?
So I use Zoho. I know there's a lot of other ones on the market. you can just like schedule in a day and post multiple times. It's also nice. And then data, so like you can see what days you should post. Though I kind of like to use the actual platform's data instead.
That's great. That's a really good tip, to use the actual platform, to use like YouTube's data or Instagram's data to know when your best times are to post. So one of the things that you said that I thought was really fantastic was to keep a consistent brand. Can you talk about like what you mean by that? Carrow is like nodding her head furiously. Yes. So tell us what you mean by that.
So whenever I see consistency, a consistent brand, it kind of just is how you portray your tiling and how you engage, which are the two, as like I think Carrow said already, like two of the biggest and like most important things for like having a social media is just consistency. So you want to have a consistent brand in like your color palette. You want to have a consistent plan in your posting schedule, and how you tag and how you like the voice of your actual platform, how you talk to your viewers.
Well, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I feel like I interrupted you. I was going to ask you about voice though, and how you said something about how you talk to your viewers or your social media friends. What's like, I know a lot of people just like post one book cover after another. It's on sale, buy it here. And that is the wrong thing to do, isn't it? That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, because the best thing about like being an author and having your own page and managing your own page is the fact that you're yourself while you're posting. And your viewers are coming to you because they already like your content. They already like have read your book, or they're excited about your books. So they're coming to like look at your page because they like you. So it's best to just like let yourself shine through on your social media and just kind of be yourself. It's kind of like one of the points that we have later on. Is like, don't be afraid to promote your wares, of course, and like move people to your like merchandise and whatnot. But you should definitely be yourself on your page, and like sometimes post outside of books. Like for example, like if you have a Scrabble game with your grandpa or something, like don't be afraid to post it. And then post your favorite book quotes also.
Awesome. All right. Fantastic. That's great. What do you think about reposting content, like especially on Instagram? One of the things that I found super cool about Instagram when my last book came out, which is something I had not experienced before, is that complete strangers will post photos of themselves and your books, which is like, right? What? You can't even believe it. And a lot of times they'll post them sort of with the theme. Now I got this with the Bookstagrammers because they are, blogging and they're doing basically art for their blog. But just like regular readers posing with your book, by the pool or whatever, I think is such a cool thing. So should you repost them? Do you what's the protocol for that?
So I definitely like to share them to like the actual story. And if it's something that like the other person's of course okay with you reposting, which most people are, you go ahead and repost it. And also just make sure you give them credit for the original post. Yeah, that's also like one of the biggest things on Instagram. Always give credit to the artist.
You don't want
to
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Beth. I know you have to run. Those are some really awesome tips. So we're going to let you pop out now. But thank you. I will link down to Beth later if any of you guys are interested in talking to her or finding out more about her. So, all right. Yay. Thank you for coming. All right. Here we go. Bye. I know, right?
Bye, guys.
By the way, about planning on Instagram, there is a new feature on Facebook called the Creator Studio. It's available for Facebook pages, and if you connect your page with your Instagram account, then you're able to cross-post and schedule posts for Instagram too.
Awesome. All right.
My only hurdle at the point is that you cannot make a post, schedule a post to be at the same time on Instagram and Facebook. You have to make two separate schedules. But if you do it at the time you want to go up, then you can cross-post.
Fantastic. So when you're saying you can't do that you couldn't before. You couldn't post cross post at the same time on like Facebook and Instagram.
Before that, you couldn't post a photo on Instagram from a PC or a Mac, only from a phone.
That's pretty cool. All right, fantastic. Okay, so we have some questions and things like that. Here's what I feel like we should do, because we're talking about how we're going to do these little sprints and get some of this stuff knocked out, right? So Bev mentioned a couple of things. She mentioned Canva. She mentioned, I think,
WordSwag.
WordSwag. That's right. She mentioned WordSwag.
Zoho
Social, and Buffer. All right. So I go ahead.
There's also Hootsuite as well.
Hootsuite. That's right.
I use Crowdfire.
Crowdfire.
Mm-hmm. There's options. It's pretty much whatever interface you feel like working with the most. And there's also TweetDeck, but TweetDeck mostly focuses like with Twitter.
Right.
So at the end of the day, what you want to do is find an interface that works for you, and then find the platform that works best for you. So if your audience is going to be on Twitter, you're going to spend more time on Twitter. If your audience is on Instagram, then you're going to be spending more time on platforms that work better with that. So
right. Let me see if I can pull up like. I have Buffer. Okay, so here, can you guys see, right? So this is a Buffer, and you can actually just post on whatever platform you like, and you can schedule your posts in advance, which is really nice. And there, I mean, all sorts of things that you can do with that. All right, let's see. Let me see if this goes away. All right, cool. Oh, no, it doesn't go away. Hold on.
There's a couple of things I want to mention with Instagram before we dive too deep into that. I was kind of hoping that your friend would mention it, but she was focusing a lot on author image and author branding, which is really important. A couple of things to point out is that when you start with Instagram, you can put up to 30 hashtags in there.
Yes.
When you start off, it's okay to use 30 hashtags. And then when you find the hashtags that work better for you, or the ones that reach your audience better, then you can kind of narrow it down into that. The other thing that I do want to point out is that you'll see some people on Instagram who will post like 3 times a day, which is like the max. They're like, if you want to increase your reach, you do 30.
Right.
But the problem with that is that you end up starting to compete with yourself.
Right.
So in that case, less is more. So one specialist I talked to, when I asked her to take a look at my profile, because I was like, I'm doing all the things that you guys are telling me to do, but it's not working. She's like, well, you're your own worst enemy. So at the time, I was posting twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. She's like, you got to scale that back to like 4 times a week, and that's all you have to do. And I was like, 4 times a week? What are you talking about?
Great.
Yeah. So, in the beginning, when you're trying to build up your feed and trying to reach people, you can go balls to the walls like that. But then after a while, tone it back, because like she says, you start competing with yourself after that. So
I think that is fantastic. Plus, if we all agree right now to only do 4 times a week, right? Then we don't have to compete with everybody else. We can just be out there. All right. So let's take all right. So CO Savvy says, I had a blog and felt weird about asking people to check it out. Definitely going to be weird selling myself and my books online. Get used to it, baby. This is your new full-time job. CO says sometimes she forgets YouTube is social media. 8 hours might be on the smaller side of the spectrum. I will say that I probably spend 8 hours a week on YouTube, but I'm really I really am challenged by Facebook. In Facebook, I almost never check in, and yeah, that's true, Cachet. Like I go, 8 hours is too much, but I'm actually thinking about outside of YouTube, because I definitely normally would spend more than 8 hours a week. All right. Hi, Jamie. Thanks for coming by.
Hello.
Oh my gosh, there's a ton of comments. Hey, DL. So glad you're here. Is the 8 hours for social media personalities or for authors? That's okay. It's just for authors. It was actually a study done by, commissioned by the International Thriller Writers. And they said that the ideal amount of time you should be spending on social media is at least 8 hours a week. which feels kind of overwhelming to a lot of people. Although CARROW was like, well, you're doing this an hour, hour and a half. And actually, if you think about it, CARROW, you're doing it probably way more than that, because even just with the live streams you participate in.
Apparently, I'm a professional live streamer. Like, I saw your comments, and I was just like, no.
No,
I just let it.
Significant other. He just thought it was funny that every time I'm watching a live stream, you're on it. I think because I tend to like go in the same like group of people, and so right, like we all do. It's like little tribe.
As Amy likes to say, I just want to play with my friends. Okay.
Yes, I know. Me too. That's why I'm like, yeah, exactly. Okay, so DL says he uses Later to schedule posts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Okay, so that's another one we'll add to the list. I'm going to try to make a list of all of the resources so that later on I can put them in the description and we will have them all. We'll see how I manage that. All right, so Dolly is here. That's absolutely fantastic. All right. So here's what I think we should. Does anybody else have anything to say before we take our first little sprint break?
Probably afterwards.
I have to say something.
Oh.
But go on, CARROW.
I was going to say, I've only talked about Instagram. We have not even talked about Instagram stories. So
yes.
Yes,
that's your job, right? Right after we do. I think we're going to have like a ton of stuff today. All right, let's do this. So we are going to do a little 10-minute sprint, I think. And what I want us to do during that time is check out all of these different sites that we have mentioned so far. If you are not already familiar with them, then I want you to take a look at them. And that's what we're going to do in our 10 minutes. So I'm going to give you a list of what we've done so far. If you are here because it's Wednesday and you're like, I'm here to write, damn it, feel free to use the 10 minutes to write. But I think it's a good idea that we just go through so that it's not just like one big massive chunk of stuff, that we sort of go through and kind of check things off as we go along. So I want to send you guys to some of the mass scheduling sites where you can schedule all of your social media, because I think for most of us that's super helpful to be able to post things in advance. Often when I'm tweeting, when I'm actually here, it's because I posted it before we started. Sometimes it's me running over there, though, I will confess. I don't use it as much as I should. Robert, do you use any of those social media tools or no?
No, actually, I don't. I am actually running back and forth because I have to step up my Instagram and Twitter game both. I've mainly been focusing on YouTube, and lately I've taken a break from all social media just because of the surgery and everything. So I've been doing a lot of planning. But I do have a lot of things to say about marketing and branding, because if you don't do that right, it doesn't matter how many times you post a day or a week, it's not going to be effective.
That is absolutely the truth. That is absolutely true. I know, like Robert and I were tweeting back and forth, and he had like this whole thing, like a rant. And I was like, okay, just bring that over to the live stream. We're going to talk about that. So, all right. So here's what I want you guys to check out in the next 10 minutes. Ready? And tell me, Geek, tell me if we're missing anything, okay? So Buffer, B-U-F-F-E-R, Zoho Social, Hootsuite, Crowdfire, and Later. All right, are we ready?
I think it's everything there.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go do our 10-minute sprint where everybody's going to take a quick peek at those and mark them for later so that we know what it is that maybe this is going to help save some time. I will say, especially if you're doing like a promotion, it's very helpful to be able to schedule a bunch of that stuff early on and then respond to it as the responses come in, but then you don't have to do all these original posts. Or even if you just sort of save like your art and all of that ahead of time. So, okay, here we go, guys. Let me get our little timer up. Apparently we have 9:58 to go because I can manage it. All right, me and the timer. Timers are my nemesis. All right, here we go. We're going to take 10 minutes and we're going to check out all these mass scheduling sites. All right, here we go. All right. So I was trying to do something cheerful like rainbows so that this wouldn't all seem so horrific. So so I hope it worked. I didn't know that it has like a little doo-doo-doo-doo at the end. So I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so we have our new Amy, our new guest, Amy, Nobody Somebody. Hello. We're
Hello.
today.
Hello, everybody.
Amy, awesome body.
That's right. Awesome body. I like that. That's very nice. All right. So we're so glad that you're here. So you guys let us know in the comments about whether 10 minutes is too long, not long enough, or just right as far as knocking all this stuff off our little list. So in our last sprint, we just went to all of the mass scheduling sites like Buffer, Zoho, Hootsuite, Crowdfire, and Later. Dahlia says she also uses Promo Republic. Geek, do you have any insight about that?
No.
Okay, good. All right, Dahlia, tell us what it's all about. Okay, you guys, let us know in the comments about whether or not that was too long, not long enough. So Geek is going to give us some great social media tips. But Amy, will you just tell us a little bit about yourself before we get to you?
I am an SEO consultant. I'm certified through UC Davis. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. And I kind of got into the whole AuthorTube thing from
I can't hear
Sky.
Amy. I see the voice moving, but for some reason I don't hear it.
Is anybody else hearing me?
I can hear you. Robert, you can't hear her or you can't see her?
I can't hear her.
Uh-oh.
Turn it off, turn it back on again.
I think it's you, Robert. Nihilist Geek, can you hear Amy?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Can you talk, Amy?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything
Can
seems to
you
be
hear
working
her?
on my end.
Yeah, I think we're good. Robert, I think it's you.
Okay, I'll go out and come back in.
Yeah.
I
All
did
right.
it last week.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Amy. So you are a big-time social media or big-time SEO consultant, which is great,
Oh,
I think, because is that like the worst thing? I feel like that's the SEO is like the thing. It's like this constantly moving target where you have no idea what you're doing, and it's the worst. What are we missing?
yeah, you're absolutely right. Google puts out over 500 updates to their algorithm a year. So yes, SEO is a continuously moving target, and everybody struggles with it, even me. And I have a pretty good idea what I'm supposed to be doing.
That I'm not sure if this having you on here today will give us all hope and that you're going to share the magic formula, or if we're all going to be crying after that. When we do the promo sprint after you give your advice, we're all just going to be weeping. I think that's going to be the one. All right,
It is a learning process.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so Geek came on today because social media is his day job. He is the social media king here on AuthorTube.
No.
Not the king, the crown prince.
No, I'm paid.
Page.
All right, so give us like what's your number one tip? Because I don't know for me, I feel like super overwhelmed by all the stuff that we have to do. Am I the only person that feels that way?
Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, everybody does.
I'm Michael. Hello, everybody. I work for a small publishing house in Greece. I have a degree in computer science, information systems, and I've been in author-related social media since 2003, I guess. So I'm a pre-Facebook social media for readers and authors guy. I remember forums and IRC channels and this kind of stuff. I'm based in Greece, and here's where I work. So most of the stuff I can tell you, the practical advice are not applicable to the US because it's a different ecosystem. But I have 3 steps that I can, 4 steps I can tell any author that they should follow.
Okay.
Step number one is find out your goal or your goals, because it's very easy to say, oh, well, go to social media and sell books. But that's not everything, really. It's more of a strategy. It's more what you want to accomplish at this point of your career. I mean, if you don't have any books, you can sell them. Maybe you want to go on social media and find other like-minded people. Maybe you want to go and find a support system, other writers you write with, and to answer us questions and this kind of stuff. Maybe you want to have your name known, or maybe you want to say I'm an author and I'm very smug and never write, because yes, this also exists.
Right.
And I had a video about this last week, I think.
It's down in the description. So if you guys want to check that out, be sure to do that.
So yes, there is the goal. What's your goal? You have to establish that, because from my experience, many authors don't do that. They don't have a clear goal, and without a goal, you're just aimless. And once you find your goal, it defines your audience. So you go out, you look at your social media, what social media are available, and hello, Rob. And you say, oh, where are these people? Where's my audience?
Right.
I mean, if your audience is older people, you go on Facebook. Or if you're Greek, because Twitter here is dead and everybody's on Facebook.
Right.
Except for the young ones, they're on Instagram.
Right. So the one thing I think that there is somebody definitely in the chat right now listening who's thinking, I want to do all of those things. I want to sell books. I want to find like-minded people. I want to become world famous tweeter. So what would you tell them?
If you want to do everything, to do nothing.
Yes.
And you should probably think what's more important to you. And once you accomplished one of those things, it will synergize and you get the rest. If you can sell 1 million books, everybody will follow you on Twitter if they like them.
That's true. All right. So your first step is figure out your goal. What's step number 2?
Where is the audience to help you accomplish this goal?
So when you say where, you mean like, are they on Instagram? Are they on Facebook? Are they on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, if you go on, if you want to find your tribe and you go on Facebook, maybe it's hard to do that. Maybe you have to look for author and other industry groups on Facebook, not general Facebook, I'm an author. On Twitter, you just put a hashtag writer family or something and follow, and you'll find them, and maybe you'll establish some relationships with other people. Or if you go on YouTube and you do writing videos and follow people who are author-tubing, you'll find them. But readers are not these people. So you will find readers in these places.
All right. So where, I don't know let's talk about who should cover this. So will it be you, Geek, or will it be you, Amy? I know a lot of people are completely confused, myself included, completely confused about like, how do you find the best hashtags? Is it the most popular? Is it the ones that aren't as popular that, you know, where it's easier to rank? Which one of you is going to handle that, or both?
Both, probably. Everything that Geek has said so far is right on the money. If you try to do everything, you'll end up doing nothing. As far as trying to find hashtags and stuff like that, you are going to go for a blend. You need hashtags that are going to have volume just to get you in the feed, but you're also going to need ones that are specific to you.
Exactly.
Because you are trying to market yourself and your specific whatever it is, product, service, personality.
All right. Great. Fantastic.
It's step number 4. The hashtags is step number 4.
Oh, good.
Lisa.
Okay.
So
wait, we missed step number 3.
Yes. Once we know where's our audience, then we'll have to find out what kind of content will help us connect to this audience. And when I say content, it's not just about the pictures you post on Instagram or your Twitters or your tweets. Your content may be leaving comments to their Instagram photos or their tweets, or answer them and do nothing of your own. Just have your profile that says Lisa, and you just talk to other authors, or you're in a group of I don't know, of what do you write? Give me an example of a book.
I write romantic comedies and dating advice.
So you're in a contemporary
Romance.
romantic comedy Facebook group, and you just say, "Oh, I love this author. I like this book." And maybe you go to an administrator and say, "Hello, I have a book. Can I post about it?" And you don't need nothing else. You just engage with people, and that's valid content. I remember watching a video from a music producer that had a formula about your content, what it should be about. And I think it was 1 out of 3 posts should be about your brand. 1 out of 3 should be about you. And then 1 out of 3 should be about random stuff. I think it was from Instagram. So unless I found this video and watched it back, don't take this for granted. But I think that's you should have a mix of posts on your content, and even content, and even comments is content in a
So
way.
a third about your brand, a third about you, and a third about random stuff.
More or less, but it depends on what your strategy.
Right.
And finally, once you do that, you start to see what works and what doesn't. That's what business people call ROI, or return on investment. So if you spend 6 hours to do a video on YouTube and you sell 1 book for this video, and you take a selfie with your book, post it on Instagram, and you get 50 sales, you just keep doing Instagram. Maybe if you do 5 selfies for Instagram, you don't sell 250 books. You sell, I don't know, 70. So maybe you should do 5. Maybe you should do only 1 or 2. And you try stuff constantly, because after a while they stop working.
So that's like just the old 80-20 rule that you spend. So 80% of your efforts results in, or gives you 20% of your results, and 20% of your results, 20% of your efforts give you 80% of your results. The whole idea behind that is that you focus on the 20% that gives you the 80% results and skip all the rest of the crap that you're doing. Yeah?
Probably. But it's business terms like it's diminishing returns, meaning that no matter how much more you put into something, it will stop producing the same result, or maybe you get a scale up at the same time. So you have to find the balance. What is the optimal budget, for instance, if you do Facebook ads or Instagram ads? What's the optimum balance to spend, and how you should spend this money? And I don't know, should we get into paid ads or something right at the moment?
Oh, I don't. Let's go ahead, and because we've got, like, we want to make sure that we get to Amy. So let's do that paid social ads on another day. But I think it's it's like a whole entirely different ball of wax. So yes, Bonnie, so many Facebook groups to join. Okay, so this is a good question for you, Michael. CEO says, should I have separate social media for my author self? Right now I use my personal platforms with family pics.
It will help a lot, in my opinion, because if you have an author page, it allows you to have more than 5,000 people connected to this, because there is a limit to your Facebook profile. You can add, you can run ads, you can have other people help you in the back end to work this page. It allows you to connect an Instagram account to your Facebook account, and you have access to analytics which are very important for Instagram, or you can run ads later on. And also, you don't have all those unknown people in your feed, which is a hustle. It's a hustle.
All right.
I just want to piggyback and explain my comment a little bit more. Normally, when we talk about author branding, what we're trying to say is that there are certain things that are associated with your name. So when you have a professional or a separate account for your author stuff, that's going to be where you post a lot of the stuff that's pertaining to you as an author, not so much your stuff otherwise. So for example, like on my personal page, like it's mostly me just like sharing like, you know, funny faces with like my family. I don't share that with, you know, the general public. The general public will usually see something art related. They'll see my dogs, and then they'll also see like me talking about YouTube videos and my books. Like when people think about me, they're going to think about those things. So when you're deciding on your author branding and your audience and your hashtags and all that other stuff, it's also keeping into account what you want people to think of when they think of you. So.
Right. I know. Well, and I think a lot of times you just have, like, I started Facebook way back in the day because my publisher said you need to have a Facebook account. And so I ended up with, I don't know, I have a lot of friends, but I don't feel like I feel like, who are these people? They're not particularly engaged. I don't post pictures of, like, I'll sometimes post a picture of my dog occasionally. And then someone said, oh, you need to have like an author page. So now I have an author page and the personal page, and I'm not particularly engaged on either one of them because Facebook is just not, other than actually the AUTHORTUBE community and like one other, it's not a community that there's just like too much garbage in my feed, and I don't care for it. I almost feel like the author page is more of like a fresh start, but it also does not have, you know, all the people that my regular Facebook account has. I will say the one place that I've been really good about branding has been on my Instagram page, because I use like my brand colors, you know, aqua and blue and maybe a little lime green, and everything I post is about, you know, the fact that my handle is Author by the Sea, and it's about like writing and being by the ocean, and those things are it. That's really all I post, is about sort of that tropical Florida island life and vacation books. And that's it. And I feel like that audience is a lot more, I feel like I'm a lot more engaged with the people I know on Instagram than I am with people that follow like my regular Facebook account that I don't really know. I don't know, author. Robert, what do you have?
Well, part of this is what we were talking about last night. We keep hearing be yourself, but what I see and hear a lot is, what if I'm boring? Or what if I don't talk about writing because I don't feel qualified? And that kind of leads to a lot of questions. The flip side of that is I see people with great personalities and sense of humor with joke after joke after joke, and you have to scroll back 20 posts to see something about writing, and it's usually, I'm having such a bad day, help me, support me.
Right.
I think none of those things is a good look.
No.
The fix for that would be, do you have days where the words just aren't coming? And how do you guys deal with that? Do you have any solutions that gets them to engage and look at your feed and maybe find something? Not oh, I can't do it, or I'm not qualified to give advice, because that's a bad look.
Right.
I think finding your voice, just like finding your voice as an author. So you have to ask yourself, what are your strengths? You got into this because you love writing. Okay, what do you love about writing? What kind of inspires you? Those should be the things you're talking about, not I'm not qualified, or I'm a stand-up comic, because that's
right. Well, it could be funny if you write comedy. You have a little taste of what you're going to get. But yes, although I find that I don't think I'm that funny on social media. I think I do better in books. So, and it's a totally different skill set, which Michael can definitely tell us. So, I want to take another little break to have. Should we do 5 minutes, 10 minutes? What do you guys think? To think about these points that Michael's made. Think about your goals. Think about where your audience is. Think about what kind of content helps you.
I think in order to find out where your audience is, it's important for our viewers to actually determine who their audience is,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then try to figure out where they are. So I would say, the first step would be, who is your audience? Where can you find them at? And then how can you?
Caro, I can hear you.
Yeah,
I
I've
think
lost
your mic cut off.
So you said, so Carol was saying that before we start thinking about where our audience is, we need to figure out who they are, which is important to know who you're talking to before you start talking. Carol, say something.
Boo.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Can you guys
Yeah.
all hear?
Yeah, so you want to figure out who your audience is and where you can find them. And when I say where you can find them, I'm not just talking about like where on social media you can find them. Like, where will you find these people at? Are they in coffee shops? Are they in the library? Or where are they? Because where you're going to find them outside of the internet is also where you're going to find them in the internet, because you're going to know where they're going to associate with. So that's what those are the three things I would say we should probably do now.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to think about our goals. Think about who is our audience, and we're going to write down where they are likely to be. So what are your goals? Who is your audience, and where they're likely to be? Good. All right, we are going to take, do we want 5 or 10 minutes to do this?
I vote 10 because
Yeah.
it's going to take 5 minutes just to think about that, let alone actually move
All
on.
right, 10 it is. 10 is, Amy's the deciding vote. All right, guys, let me share my little screen here. Wait, where did it go? There's that. Hold on. Carol, I lost your comment. Now I can't get rid of you. Okay. Okay. All right, we're taking 10, actually 10 and a half, because for some reason I can't figure out what the heck I'm doing. All right, here it is. All right, trying again. All right. Go. Don't you guys feel enlightened already?
It's actually been really helpful. I've been super productive during the sprints.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. So I want to know, we have lots and lots of comments. So I want to go through a couple of those first, and then we'll, all right, let's see. Sarah says she's at work again, but wanted to pop in. Thank you, Sarah. We really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Did we cover this? Yes, we did. Okay, so I think that what Carol, what you said was really important about you want your audience to get the same message about you over and over and over again about who you are. And that should really extend, I think, across all of your platforms. And that's a lot easier said than done, but that's part of your, a part of your branding is that you want to be the same person no matter where you are. And I think this point about when your name pops up, so if someone's searching for you and they see your website and your Instagram account and your Twitter, like all those things should work together to show, to show a picture of a whole person. So yes, CEO Savvy says, thank you, Carol and Geek, so helpful. Definitely. So
You're welcome.
well, this is a good question. Should you have a separate page under a pen name if you have one?
Yes.
So I actually have the opposite take.
Yes.
So you have pen names, you tell us this, and then I'll tell you the downside of using one name for everything.
Who? I'm sorry, you talking to me?
I'm talking to you, Carrow.
Oh, I already answered it.
Did you answer it in the comments?
Yeah. Because you were in the middle of talking about something. I was like, I'll just type the answer.
We'll just type the answer. Well, okay. So what did you say? Yes, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they should. So my first book was dating advice. And then my second book was fiction. And then my third book was dating advice. My fourth book was fiction. And what happens is I have this like crack, this like divide. Like there's some crossovers. Certainly there are people who want dating advice, who also like rom-coms. But there are lots of people who like rom-coms that are not interested in dating. And so I feel like at any given time, I'm pissing off half of my audience. And if I had it to do not that I will now, but if I had it to do all over again, I think I would have used a pen name for either one or the other, either my nonfiction or my fiction.
That's actually recommended. So for example, the whole reason that my Faye Black name ended up coming out is because the Violet Gaze Press, who asked me if I would actually write stuff for them, said, well, you have to do it under a different name because your genres at that point are completely different. And audiences will get confused if at one point you write horror and then you start writing cozy mysteries. They're going to be like, what's happening here? Even though they're kind of under the same umbrella because they're that different, people have expectations for you as a writer, and they want you to fit into the box. Normally people are like, I refuse to fit in the box. Your name has to fit into a box. That's what it is. I'm just not shy about saying which of those names are mine. They're both mine. So I'm like, I write this under this name and I write that under that name. That's where you can find me at. Some people will tell you to make separate websites and everything else. And that really depends on what you're.
Carol, your audio went out.
You disappeared. Yeah. No. All right. Come back, Carol. Just start talking randomly. Nope, we can't hear you. No.
Oh, wait. I thought I heard
you. Talking, CARROW.
Amy.
I hear you.
Take them back, Amy. I don't want them.
Yeah. So it's funny because the first time anyone ever brought that up to me was like a month after my fiction was published. And I was like, oh, that would have been a great idea. Now it's like, well, it's too late.
Well, it also depends on what you write primarily. So, for example, one author that I follow her under her other pen name, but her main pen name, she writes like very like middle grade stuff. So, it's about kids like solving mysteries and doing stuff. But then she decided to do kind of like very adult retellings of fables. And so like one parent like lost their shit because they were like, how dare you write this under a different name? And she's like, I wrote it under a different name on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So. Yes. Yeah. It's an excellent point. Okay, so Bonnie says she hasn't published anything yet, but has 2 projects in the works. Carol, you were so helpful. I tried writing something else. conquered my word stamina plateau. Yay.
What is a word stamina plateau?
It's kind of what Michael was talking about, hashtags. It's not so much for your different names, but for each of your social media platforms under whatever name you're using. If you have hobbies or interests that pertain to the writing or the genre that you're working in, if you can manage to include those, what I've discovered is each of those niches have an entirely different group that may not be coming to your channel. But if you can lure them in, a lot of people that are into science fiction hobbies, for example, also write science fiction, whether it's fiction or novels. So there's a broader world, I think, to be had for us out there.
Yeah, I think that's
too, definitely, because my social media posts focus not just on like my books. I also do stuff related to like dogs. I do stuff related to like even though I have books about dogs, like just like trying to like get target those different communities. Like there's a whole dog community, there's a whole toy community out there. All of that has been really helpful.
I think one thing we also need to really keep in mind is not only like when we're talking about like finding our audience and where they're going to be, I think one thing that we really need to keep in mind, and it's often forgotten, is what is it we are actually doing for our audience? What are we doing for someone? What are we, how are we helping them with their career or making their life better or just giving them an escape? But not just, how do we find them and connect with them, but what can we give them? What can we do for them?
Can I say something? It's not what you can do for your audience. You have an awesome book, I guess. So it's good to share with people. That's the main way to sell your books. It's not about selling your book to other unfortunate souls who have to read it. You have an awesome book and people want to read them, those books. The reason you have separate pen names is because people who read one of your books may not want to read another kind of book.
Right.
So you don't want to.
If
you have a romance and a hardboiled crime novel, people from either novel don't want to hear about the other.
Now, people are very specific about the genres they like. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. Oh,
and, I'd like to say something.
By the sea. Thank you, SAVI. That's very sweet. Yes, solving a problem always works. Very nice. Kara says you'll never get rid of us. Good. You.
Amy wants to say something.
I'm so glad.
Yeah. I'd like to piggyback on what Geek just said because he did make a good point. As far as should I have multiple platforms for multiple names or projects? Yes, you should, because it allows you to cater each one specifically to your demographic. And he pointed out, he pointed out that if they like one genre, they might have no interest in the other. You don't ever have to worry about confusing people. Like you pointed out, that there's a divide in your audience because this attracts this demographic and this attracts that one. And not that there's a conflict, but there's not always overlap. So at the end of the day, yes, you are going to want to create platforms for your specific things. And it will amount to more work for you managing these multiple platforms, but it will allow each platform to be as efficient as possible for its particular task. If you're marketing if you've got a book under this pen name, but under that pen name, maybe you're trying to do more community involvement. Maybe that pen name you want more to teach, hey, we're going to be hosting sprints, those kind of things. It allows you to make sure that each one is efficient exactly the way you want to, and you don't have to worry about overlap and divide.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can tell you what is a very bad idea. Make a profile or a page about every single book you have. That's a very bad idea, in my opinion. Especially if you talk about Facebook groups, Facebook pages, for instance. They have an author page. My main client at the moment in my day job is an author who is she's a psychologist. So she was doing children's books about motherhood and general wellness stuff. about historical books, but it's everything under one page at the moment because there's a synergy between them.
Right.
So you can do more than one genres if there is synergy.
That's a lot of. Certainly, there'll be some overlap, but that's also there are a lot of sort of individual audiences that would be interested in one and not the other. Books with Kitten says, I just want to say that this stream is really useful for me. I'm quite new to all this. I'm quite young. Yay, you for starting early. Not yet published, and this information is really important. Good. Well, we're so glad. We're a little bit nervous about how crazy this would go. Eva says, I have a list of pen names. Should I publish in more than one genre? I'm glad it isn't just my wanting to categorize things and it's actually useful. This is the one thing in my career that I wish I had done, because it really, I mean, and now it's too late for me to go back. But this is the one thing I wish I had done, is do 2 different names for the different types of books. Anybody have a comment? So she's glad. She's glad that
I do have one last thing. This is more a personal note than it is a professional one. You need to at least have a distinction between your personal account that has your family and friends and anything professional, because at some point you're going to wish they were separate.
Yes.
Something will happen. Either people outside will come after your family or stuff like that. You're going to want at least that one barrier so that you have your private space on your personal accounts.
Yeah, and like I had 2 things I want to add. I just want to piggyback off of Amy. I actually recently had to delete my personal account because people were finding it because I made the mistake of like letting my family know. It's like, hey, I made an author account. If you want to follow me on that, go for it. And then other people would follow me, and the next thing I know, my family account's getting recommended to other people. And my issue with that is that my house is under my name.
Right.
Is under my real name. So the moment like I had some stuff that went down, immediately went to the personal account and bombed it. I was like, nope, don't need you showing up to my house. I don't need you to find me. You stay over there. Yeah, it became a personal safety thing. But one thing that going back to a different part of this conversation that I want to point out is that this information that we're all talking about and covering in regards to understanding your target audience, where to find them, and all that other stuff is really important, because if you want to get traditionally published, the first thing the publisher is going to do is ask you those questions. And they're also going to ask you what your marketing plan is. A lot more of the outbound marketing is being pushed more onto authors because of budget reasons, but they also want you to be more involved when it comes to selling your book, because if you are not willing to sell your book, why would they care?
Why would they? Right.
Can I add something to that, Carrow?
Sure. Yeah,
there is always the case, you and your, not you, generally you, and your publisher may fall out. So you don't want to have your audience left at your publisher.
Yes. That too. Yeah, you definitely, for liability reasons, when you make your own website and your handles and stuff like that, you want that to be made by you, because if the publisher makes it, then when something happens, they just take it from you.
Right.
Don't be in that situation. Have your stuff, have your newsletter, have it all you, so that way when things happen, at least you still have that to build off of.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I was going to say, you're someone who's been traditionally published for a long time. Most publishers will not get involved in you building your website. They will expect that you have one, but they will, but they'll not generally try to do that kind of stuff. They very much expect for you to do all of that.
Where I work at, we used to do that, and at some point, we found out the yearly cost of the URLs.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it's insane. All right. So I wanted to talk to Amy and CARROW. Do you want to sort of lead this discussion? Or no, or I can. Amy, pour all your wisdom on us, please.
What do you mean lead the discussion? Just ask Amy certain questions, like help me.
Well, no, it's okay. So Amy is an SEO expert, and I guess the question that we all want to know is, how can we use SEO to help ourselves get to help build that platform, to help get found, to help sell books, to help find our people. So
okay,
bring it on.
Amy, what are easy to do things that authors can do with SEO?
Okay. I'm flattered for the word of expert, by the way. I'm nowhere near an expert in my industry, but it's nice to hear it. SEO is search engine optimization, and while it is not specific to websites, it is most efficient on a website. And basically what you're doing is you are bringing your website up to code according to search engine standards so that you will rank higher. And you're going to want to customize your website to your business goals. Geek mentioned that the very first thing was you're going to want to define your goals. And that's absolutely true on every area of your platform, including your website, because you're going to want to optimize your website slightly differently if you're actually selling your book on your website, or are you selling courses, or are you trying to host a community on your site. You are going to want to customize your site to match your business goals, is the term that my particular niche uses over and over again. So business goals. For most people, I know, especially in an indie publishing community, most of you are looking to set up your site so that you have all of your brand recognition, so that, you know, Google and the search engines will know that this is your site. This is the home base of your platforms. And if you're not selling something on your site, I don't want to be unprofessional and say that you can just kind of set it and forget it, because you can't. But if your website is mainly going to be a home base or mostly about blogs, about your writing journey and stuff like that, you can basically get it up to a certain code where the keywords are optimized correctly. You have your name, your genre. If you have a company or a community that you're part of, you'll have references to them on your site. Anything that is relevant, you're going to want to have a connection to it on your site. Of course, social media, stuff like that. And if you do a good job of that, the white hat SEO is what they call it, you're not very likely to run into a problem. If you do everything correctly, which is easy to do, it's just hard to learn how many things you have to do because there is a ton. You're going to be okay. You don't have to worry about bad things happening if you just follow the basics. But if you are using your website to sell anything, you are going to want to use SEO more frequently. I always suggest, whenever somebody asks me, you know, do I need to hire an SEO or not? At the end of the day, if you're trying to sell something on your website, yes, you do, because the point of SEO is to make your site rank higher also for organic search. These are people who don't even know what they're looking for. They just know they want this item or this service, and they just type it in to see what happens. Because something like 73% of people don't go to page 2 on Google search results. They'll retype the search. So if you're trying to sell something on your site, absolutely, you're going to want to find an SEO that you're comfortable with. But if you, like most of these indie authors, you're going to be selling your books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, the many internet platforms where you can get them. It's okay to just put in the effort and make sure that it's good. I'd recommend getting I always recommend at least one consultation. You might have to pay out of pocket for at least one consultation, but I know me personally, in my one consultation where I talk to you for an hour, I can give you enough information about your site that you didn't even know its problems, that I'm going to save you a couple $100 just by telling you what's wrong with it. So if you're curious and you're serious and you are selling something on your site, definitely consider SEO, because it's going to make a world of difference. And as far as how it all relates back to your author platform, you know, we're all mentioning a lot about the many platforms like Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. As long as everything connects back to that, you should be okay. If you're not selling anything on your website, it's okay if your website doesn't come in number 1 every time, but you do want to see your name in that first page for the search results for your pen name or something like that. Because sometimes you're going to have to compete too.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Amy,
I'm
but
sorry.
actually, if you do nonfiction, SEO is important. If you do fiction, not at the max.
Oh, very much.
And at the same time, SEO is very important on Amazon, especially for indies, and on YouTube.
Yeah.
Good SEO can grow your channel in YouTube.
Yeah. One thing I do want to point out is, should you decide to get a consultant, to do your homework. Do your homework. Look at reviews. If you want to risk it on Fiverr, that's on you. But I would just make sure that you're with somebody who is legit. I knew somebody that hired an SEO consultant, and the person gave them like, some stuff. And the thing is that when you're not experienced with doing this yourself, somebody who's not experienced can make it sound like they know what they're talking about.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you're just given like some half-ass effort, and you think that you got your money's worth when in fact you got ripped off. So, definitely look at your
Very
budget.
common in my industry.
Yeah. So make sure that you do your homework. Make sure that you ask questions, because if you're getting something, don't be afraid to like advocate for yourself. Say, what exactly are you doing that your competitor over here is not doing? Like, I'm not going to lie. I hired Amy for work because I knew that our website needed work. And I didn't just come over and be like, hi, Amy, come on over. I was like, Amy, I need.
Oh no, Carol, your audio cut out again. Right at the punchline.
Right at the punchline. Hey, Amy.
This is an opportunity for me to say something important, though. When you are looking for an SEO consultant, we call them KPIs, key performance indicators. Make sure you approach that conversation and you know what results are going to look like to you. Are you trying to rank higher? Do you want conversion for your newsletter? Are you trying to sell something and you can just see that you're just not getting traffic? Why not? Make sure you know what issues you want addressed so that when you talk to an SEO, they can give you answers and indicators about showing results. Because Carol's absolutely right. It's really easy for an SEO to rip off somebody who has no idea what an SEO does.
Right.
Because it's not just making sure that, your name is in the H1 heading on all the pages. It's not that simple.
Right.
But you can dazzle somebody pretty easily if they don't know what they're doing. So make sure you approach an SEO with your personal goals and what results you're expecting. And that will tell you how legit they are, whether or not they can answer questions regarding these results that you'd like to see.
Well, yeah. I think that was you want to go ahead, Kara?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, when I approached Amy, like, I was like, you have to sell yourself to me right now. And like, even before then, like, I've been observing Amy for like 3 months. So like,
you have Kara, do you have a spreadsheet on her?
No, you can't put a spreadsheet on Amy. Because the gremlins will come and eat it, and then it'll be gone.
All right. Well, so this is more what Amy's saying is the same thing in a different way that Michael was saying, which is that you have to know what your goals are before you start doing these things. Before you're doing social media, or at least going forward with social media, you have to know what it is you're trying to accomplish. It's the same as when you write a book. You can't just put it out there and write for everybody. You have to know what genre you're writing in. You have to know what the expectations are for that genre. So I think that's super important to really focus on that, because I think a lot of times people just like tunnel forward trying to solve the next problem, or do whatever, do a certain number of postings or do this or that, but we don't really think about like what the goals are. So I think Carol asked you a really good question, Amy. And that is like, where should authors start? Like, what are the top 3 or 4 things that we should be doing today?
Okay. First of all, you're going to want to identify the keywords that are associated with you, which off the top of my head, I can tell you is going to be your name, your genre, and whether or not you're self-published, traditional published, that kind of thing. Those are going to be like the basic ones. And you're going to want to incorporate them on your website. A really good source. It's going to be difficult for those of you who don't know what SEO is, but there's a website called moz.com, MOZ.com. And that's a resource that even I check daily. And they have all kinds of tips. They even have some tools, free tools for you to use to check your own site and stuff like that.
Right.
You're going to want to optimize your site to incorporate your keywords, and it's about keyword placement, and making sure that page titles are good and meta descriptions for your data. You have to remember that Google is not a person that figures things out. Google is a computer that takes the information on this spreadsheet and compares it to the information on that spreadsheet. So while you know that a person can come to your site and recognize, oh, well, it says she's a self-published author and she writes in this genre, a computer is not going to put that much effort into it. It's going to look in 4 or 5 key places, like your page titles, your H1 and your H2 headings, and your links and the backlinks to your site. And it's going to go, okay, well, this is what all of this says. And if it's not unified and you don't have the right words in the right places, Google might get a completely wrong impression about your site, to the point that if you do a really bad job, you might get a Google penalty, which then has to be fixed.
That would be bad. So just to be clear for everybody, so page titles are
when you go
page
on
titles are what your different instead of saying about me, what might you say instead?
About me actually is an okay example. That's a generic one that shows up a lot, and it's not really going to do anything negative. But all in all, you're not going to want to get too creative with your page titles. They need to be clear, and it clearly express the point of this page. If this is a, this is my products page, you're going to want to have a word like products in there. If this is books and this is YouTube, you're going to want to be clear in your titles. Don't get too fancy with it.
Okay. And then H1 and H2 are headers and subheaders, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Headings within your posts.
Okay. And then links and backlinks. Backlinks are the links, people that link to your site. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
And it goes the other way. Links are the ones you have going to other sites.
Yeah, those are called outbound links.
Outbound links. Is everybody getting this?
And
all right. So page titles, H1 and H2 headings, links and backlinks. And you said something else. You started to say unified, and I think I cut you off, and I apologize.
Oh no, you're fine. Just that you're gonna want your site to kind of be on topic. If you might love science fiction, but if your website is primarily about cookbooks, you don't want to talk about science fiction on your cookbooks website because it will dilute the theme of your site. I do have 2 more tidbits that I always tell everybody.
Please.
One is your media library matters a lot. It matters that your pictures are compressed for your page speed. And more importantly, it matters that your pictures are properly labeled. Don't use abbreviations or slang in your pictures or your captions because, Google doesn't know what that slang is. I mean, I might be able to figure out what it means because I'm on the site, but Google's going to see that cluster of letters where you took out the vowels just to save yourself some typing as its own thing. I have no clue what it is. And my second piece of advice is, when you put a hyperlink in your text, people say, click here to check out, my latest review of this book. Do not click here. It is used so commonly by spammers that it's not necessarily something that you'll be punished for, but Google immediately questions it. Make sure that your hypertext is also accurate and clear. Don't say, click here to see the review. Say, watch, and then your hyperlink a review of blah, blah, blah. Try to keep your hyperlinks clear because it's basically just you telling Google, hey, I'm trying to be as not spammy as possible. Look, I did the professional thing. They're very simple, but they're common. People don't realize how much not properly titling your images and using that click here, it has a huge effect on how legitimate Google sees you.
I think those are because those are things that are really easy to do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't think of it, it'll say image 7 or whatever. So I think that is really fantastic. I think those are some really fantastic tips.
In layman's terms, for authors, if you have first as a blog, you have to make this blog easy for people to read. That's the
Mhm.
number one SEO trick. Because if it's hard to read, people will click on your article or your page, and they will leave it, and that's a penalty for Google. Then, if you want to have people search for specific words and find your page or your article or whatever, have this word in the title and in a subtitle, and also in some of the pictures. If you have a WordPress page, there are 2 plugins you may be interested in. Yoast SEO.
Yeah, that's a
Okay,
good
say that
one.
one again.
Yoast.
Yoast.
YOAST SEO. And also you may want to have an image compressor like a Smoosh.
Smush is the one I use most on WordPress.
Yes.
So Smush is a compressor.
Yes.
Image
Also,
compressor, yeah.
if you should ideally have a couple of links to stuff that are relevant to the article. It's a good idea to include links to your own site on the page, for instance, that's relevant. And
Internal links,
then
yeah.
you should try and have links of your site or your page or your article or whatever in other sites with relevant words in them. For instance, if you have author blog about the latest Star Wars movie, you should have Star Wars Rise of Skywalker on the title and on the subtitle and some images, and maybe have the IMDb page in there or something like that, a link to that.
To add to that,
Yeah.
he's absolutely right. You do need those things, but don't think you are limited to only those words. Google calls it keyword stuffing. If you put the same keyword on every image, every title, everything, that's a spam tactic, because you're just trying to make that word appear a whole bunch of times. Don't think you're limited to it. You can still use other words that are on topic. Like if you're talking about self-publishing, it's okay for you to say indie publishing too. You don't have to pick one or the other. You can use other relevant and still on topic words. You don't consider yourself to be limited to just the one. But he's right that if you are talking about something specific, it does need to be in at least your H1 heading and your page title.
Okay.
And also a subtitle.
Yeah, so I just want to inject real quick because I know that we have limited amount of time, and Robert still hasn't talked about the marketing stuff. I think it would be really important to hear what Robert has to say about that, and then we can move the how to use Canva to like another
day.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good plan. Let's I want to answer Bonnie's question because I had it up for like 5 minutes, and then let's talk about Robert's rant, we'll call it. Does everybody I would love it. I've taken notes and I will put them in the description about Amy's top tips and Michael's top tips for specifically for WordPress. But it would be awesome if you guys would make a note of that in the comments. If you would just knock out those 5. Michael had said get Yoast SEO and Smush. Links to things that are relevant. Linking internally, and then obviously your incoming links. I feel like I just missed one. There were 5. And then Amy had just said identifying keywords. The most important are your name, genre, whether you're traditional or indie published. Going to Moz, optimizing your site to incorporate keywords. Making sure that your media library is doing all the work it can for you, and your hyperlinks. So, you guys would write
and
that.
That's just the beginning.
That would be awesome. Really quick, let's answer Bonnie's question, and then we're going to Robert's rant, which I feel like we need. If we were producing this video instead of doing a live stream, we would totally need like a special title card, like ta-da! Maybe we'll all do it. We'll point to or something. Okay, so Bonnie wants to know. She says, my husband uses LinkedIn like nobody's business, connected to thousands of people. I'm just not as extroverted as him. What are your thoughts on using LinkedIn? Anybody want to weigh in? I have a thought.
Yeah. To me, LinkedIn is a professional platform for work. So whatever you do post on there, however you approach LinkedIn, make sure that you're approaching it like it's one giant interview. This is for work opportunities. It's not for social media cuteness or even promoting yourself or your services so much as networking with other people who you can work with. And not that you can't brag about yourself and promote yourself a little bit. Just remember, you're there for networking with other people in your industry.
Yeah, I think those are.
LinkedIn,
Go ahead.
LinkedIn is your online CV, and that's it. So
Yep.
maybe you can do business to business there, but for an author, I cannot think it can work unless you do business specific stuff.
Unless you have author services, LinkedIn wouldn't really be a good platform for you to spend a lot of your time on.
So for
Or
me,
if you're a business guru.
yeah. So for me, because I have been on, I've been the dating expert on a morning show for like the last 12 years. I don't generally promote my book stuff or my dating stuff, but I do have, most of my connections are media connections. And that has been really helpful for me because it's really easy, you know, if I'm going to be in Cleveland to, you know, if I don't have somebody on my list, at least I can make a connection through some, you know, I know a bunch of people at NBC here, so I can figure out who's, you know, on the morning show in Cleveland and that kind of connection. And vice versa. You know, if there's another author who's got like a dating book who wants to, you know, talk to me about, you know, what the media situation is like in the area, then we help that way. But generally, I think that's all. And I know some people are super successful at it. My friend Lisa McLeod is, she writes business books. She writes nonfiction books primarily directed at CEOs and VPs of sales. And that is like her whole universe is LinkedIn. And she's had huge success. But of course, her whole deal is about business. And so it's like a perfect platform for her. So the other thing about this, Bonnie, is that you know, originally when all these social media platforms started becoming more popular, people were like, oh, you got to be on LinkedIn. Oh, you got to be on Facebook. Oh, you got to be on whatever the thing, Instagram, the thing of the day was, Snapchat. But some of them you gel with and some of them you just don't. And I feel like I just don't put the effort in with things I don't care about. And so I feel like your time is limited. And if you're not feeling like that's the platform for you, skip that one. It'd be better, I think, to do a really great job on 2 platforms than a really crappy job on 7. Anybody have thoughts on that?
Definitely.
Kara's like, all right, I have gone. Okay, it is now time. Wait, how do I do this? Can we make it big? No, wait, how do I make it Robert in the middle? Can I? Crap. I can't manage this, you guys. All right, this is.
I think we just accidentally bumped out Carrow.
Did I bump out Carrow? Hi, I'm sorry.
You can't make Robert bigger. You'll just have to pay attention to him.
Okay. He's like in the middle of the Brady Bunch now. Okay, Robert, spill some knowledge on the baby.
Ran through the marketing thing is people, when you're marketing books, and I tell everybody to look at different storytelling mediums, not just to learn how to tell a story through different media, but also it's marketed differently and what we can learn from that. People, when we were talking before about you post the ads of books again and again and again, it's because books aren't marketed. And what we get from book publishers is, remember, people's attention span is shrinking. They can't remember things for 30 seconds now. So they keep posting and posting the same thing because they're afraid people aren't going to remember them. Yet I know people that don't read at all. They don't pick up a book, and yet they can go for 2-year spans between blockbuster trilogies in film and still remember it. Yet readers pride themselves on sharpening their minds, and we can't remember things for 30 seconds. That argument falls apart in my mind. So I think looking at the way movies do it, there's interviews, there's trailers, there's little teasers to intrigue you. Books don't do that, but other storytelling media does, because that's where all the big money is going these days. Books, it's left up to writers, and they don't tell you what to do. You kind of have to look at what's successful and figure a way to emulate that for your book. And that's the way you should market, not just keep posting pictures and pictures and pictures of your book, the same ad, you know, I think it's a ploy to get us to post more, to publish more quickly, because that benefits the publisher, and that's a marketing technique in itself if you can do that, but most of us can't. So what do? You have to find a way to talk about your book in a way that's not, it's entertaining. It's not so much like just posting the ad, but maybe you have groups on like we're having now, and we have a discussion about somebody's book. We talk about the characters. We talk about something that's intriguing to build up that market to keep them interested. You know, the superhero gang is like, you know, and is Thor going to face this villain, and what's going to happen in this little snippet that I've seen where it looks like he's having a hard time. It's characterization. It's intriguing through all the things that we do as writers, but how come writers aren't talking about those things?
You make such a good point, because it occurs to me that if all you're doing is just posting like the book cover on your Twitter page or whatever, on your Twitter feed, that you're essentially like, we're already good at teasing out the details and dropping hints about, right? That's literally what we do for a living.
Yeah.
And yet so many of us on our social media or just in our marketing, just, it's like we're posting the last page or just the first page, but none of the stuff that gets the reader sucked into the story. And we all know how to do that, because that is literally what we do for a living.
Yeah. Little snippets, little excerpt, or maybe make it a trailer. If you have a YouTube channel, you could always come up with little skits or do a little reading. There's got to be a way to do it that makes it seem like, wow, I want to read this. This is keeping it in front of people's faces without putting it in front of their faces and saying, here I am, look at me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're making a really good point, because I'm new to the author community. I've only been in it for about like a year and a half now, but I'm actually noticing some things like you're mentioning. I think it's really cool that they have those new like animated book covers. I know it's just like a GIF, but you know, the ashes will be floating through the air or whatever. And I didn't know until recently that you, like you just said, making basically a trailer for your cover review is a thing now.
Right.
I'm noticing it, and because I'm new to the community and it's on the upswing, it looks like it's being really efficient. I think in my, new to the community experience, I'm seeing what you're talking about, and I think you're right. It looks like it's working.
Yeah, and it works for movies, so why wouldn't it work for books?
Why wouldn't it work for us? And wouldn't we like to have that type of audience, right, that they have for movies?
One dangerous element in all of this, and I'm blaming cancel culture for this, is that you have to be likable.
No.
The worst.
You have to be likable, and you have to be relatable. And the moment that you come off as a douchebag or an asshole, you might as well just say goodbye to your sales, because at this point, people are not buying a product because they like the product. They're liking the product, but they're also liking the things that are associated with the product. So this is also a very important reason why you should have multiple online profiles, because if for some reason you're like, if you are that person that's kind of like, no, I have to go tell that whatever political party what I think about them, that's your choice. But you
talking about my politics. Oh,
just saying, be likable.
Right. Yeah. Just be like a good human is a good policy, I think. Yeah. CARROW's got that down pat. All right, let's look at some comments. Okay. Bonnie says, I haven't gotten into it yet. She's still talking about LinkedIn. He does sell heavy machinery, so it makes sense he's so into it. Yes. Devin misses MySpace. Stephen, I could not agree with you more. I do think you should actually enjoy the platform. Yes. This is why, like, when I do post for Facebook, it feels like work. And although not in the little AuthorTube world, I really like that world. But dating world is also like there's a lot more negativity and there's more exhaustion, I think, there. But yes, I completely agree, because when I'm on YouTube, it does not feel like work at all. I love it. Like, I like watching all the videos. I like interacting. I like, doing the live streams. I like being on camera. So I love giving advice. So yes.
And fun makes it look enjoyable. It makes your platform fun. If you're not enjoying it, like we talked about, that's the advice you get in every creative media. If you don't love it, you're not going to make it.
You're not. Well, it's too hard, right? It's
Yeah.
if you don't love it, it's too much of a slog. Thank you very much, Stephen. I think that is really, really good advice. This is why when Carol and I first met, she was like, check your Facebook messages, because I almost never go on there because I don't love it. Although now I'm on there a lot more because of you guys. So thank you for making me not hate Facebook.
Kara was all about some social media pressure.
I am. It took me
Okay.
it took 8 months. It took 8 months to get Amy to get a Twitter handle. 8 months.
Carrow is AuthorTube's drill sergeant.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Eva, you make a spectacular point. Salesmen are not fun to follow, but people speaking about their passions are. Yes, yes,
That
yes.
puts it well. Show your passions. That's it.
Absolutely the
You're
truth.
passionate about in your writing.
Can I
Talk
say
about-
something? Can we
Yes.
go back to Bonnie's comment about her husband?
Yes,
on the
absolutely.
team? Can we go back there?
Maybe.
Okay.
You start talking and I'll try and track it down. All right, hold on. I'm going. Keep going. Here we go. All right.
Okay, so that's a perfect example of audience on your social media. Her husband, Bonnie's husband, knows that he has to sell stuff to business people. So he goes on LinkedIn, which is for business people and no other people that are there. And he can find everybody who is interested in his machinery. So he can connect to them and pitch them. So that's identifying your audience, your content, and where to find them. That's all.
Yay, Bonnie's husband. Nice work. And also, thank you, Michael, for pointing that out. We really appreciate it. All right, let's see if I missed any other comments. Here we go. He tries to post pics for marketing events and their involvements as a company. Okay, cool. All right, that's good. You just said, haha, wild Carol. I don't know what that was specifically about, but it could really, I think for all of us,
Don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. That was my point.
I disagree with that.
It can almost be anything Carol says, though. Wild Carol said.
If you're entertaining asshole, people will like you. Don't be a boring
Sometimes
asshole.
that does work, but you know.
You're talking about a category of asshole. Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true.
Couch.
Yeah, that's so funny. Well,
I think Robert might have just hit it on the head. I think I might have heard you correctly. I might not have. You said don't be a bully.
Yeah.
I think that's key. You can be an asshole because you've got opinionated things to say, but make sure that you're not bullying or down-putting other people in the process, and that will make you a lovable asshole, like Geek is pointing out.
And don't unleash your fan base onto people. If you have a disagreement with somebody, you go put on your big people pants and you go and settle it like an adult. Don't sit there and like whine to your friends and passively tell them to go after that person. The moment people pick up on that scent, you done. Nobody wants to be your friend anymore, because you should never, ever, in my humble opinion, weaponize your fan base. Don't do it.
I totally agree with that, because I think I'm kind of a bully on YouTube sometimes, but I always make it very clear. Like when I say I'm a bully, I think that I'm more of like, I criticize a lot of fake business gurus on my channel, a lot of people who try to scam people. But I always make it very clear. I'm like, to my audience, do not send hate to this person. I'm not tagging this person. Like, you know, just don't go be rude to them, because we're not here to be rude to other people. We're just here to do some constructive criticism. But I don't know. I hope I never come across as a bully on YouTube. I don't know what you guys think.
I think that's the distinction that makes a bully versus not a bully, is that point right there. You can say as much negative things as you want, as long as you're clear that this is not negativity that needs to be taken beyond just exposing these negative things. No going after people. No antagonizing. We're just here to talk about these negative things.
Well, and you're like, you're providing your audience with a service. Basically, you're saying, I don't want you to get sucked into this scam.
Exactly.
I don't, right? So you're taking care of your people, and you're saying, we don't need to, go out there and throw tomatoes at his house, but I want to make sure, I care about you guys, and I want to make sure that you don't get taken by this person who doesn't know what they're doing, or is in business with some questionable tactics. Yeah.
I also usually try to, like, if I'm exposing a company that's predatory and there's posts from people about it, I usually try to, like, block out people's names on Instagram and on Twitter and that kind of thing, because I don't want people to go and find them. I'll only, like, publicly criticize a person if they're already famous. I feel like there's a certain degree of famous where at that point you're like, you're open to it.
At this point, 90% of my views are from me calling out BBC and their bad series they're making.
Yeah. And I've known people that built their career on everything that comes down the pike. They get on their soapbox and just take a contrary opinion.
Yeah, definitely.
The first rule of PR is,
yeah,
you know, be controversial, have an opinion about something. That is something that we were going to talk about, and I think we're gonna, like, when we talk about Canva, we can save pitching yourself and your book for our next promo stream if we have decided that this is fun and we'd like to do it again. Let us know in the comments so that we don't schedule another one if you guys are like, no thanks, go back to the writing streams.
Tell me now so I can put it in my planner.
No.
I'm busy, okay?
I know you are. Okay, so if we're going to do it again, and you guys please let us know if you think this has been worthwhile. If we're going to do it again, let's do it on the first Wednesday of the month. That way,
leave a comment if you want to have more live streams like that, because leaving comments on YouTube helps a lot with the algorithm.
well, that is awesome. Thank you very much. And also, we can help some people, which would be super cool. I will say my number one piece of advice, as a person who's been in the media for a really long time and has done thousands of interviews, your book is not a reason for people to put you on television. The fact that you've written a book is not newsworthy, but there are a million things that are in your book that are. So the fact that you've written, don't ever, like, you know, pitch your local, you know, TV producer and say, so-and-so has written a book, because they're like, that's going right in the trash. But there are a million things that you can talk about after having written that book. And those things are newsworthy. So we will talk about that in a future live stream. All right, guys, what do we think? So far, nothing. We'll see.
I saw a couple yeses do again.
Yes is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there we go.
And to the person who asked if I'm streaming after this, the answer is yes to that too.
Oh, yeah. Look at this, though, you guys. I feel like for the first time ever, I might actually finish on time.
What?
10 o'clock.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
I won't.
One final comment.
Self-improvement. I'm working on it. I'm being the best Lisa I can.
What you were just saying, Lisa, about those topics in your book, that's what one of my early mentors told me, that whatever book you've written, there's a Washington topic in there, meaning there's something in the current headlines that you can pick out of your book and make a topic that people are going to be interested in because it's already trending.
Absolutely. That like jumping onto a trend, best way to go. Okay, so we will talk about that. We will talk about Canva. We will talk about Savvy had some stuff she wanted to talk about. We will talk about more. You guys tell us what you like and we will do it. So we will plan to do our promo stream. Woohoo! All right, CO Savvy says yes, more please. Bonnie says yay. All right, fantastic.
Leave comments.
Georgie says yes. Books with Kittens says yes. All right, fantastic.
Yes.
People have spoken. We will be doing this the first Wednesday of the month. We will be doing promo streams instead of writing sprints. The rest of the Wednesdays, as always, we will continue to do our fabulous word sprints because I love them. So speaking of word sprints, 1 o'clock, here it is. Speaking of word sprints, if you would like to do some word sprints today, you can head on over to CARROW's channel at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Be sure to hit subscribe to her channel. That way you will make sure that you are always notified every single time she does a live word sprint. And
or I get drunk and talk about a book.
All right, so super quick so that I can keep my promise to the people. Shoot, it's 101. Damn. All right, everybody. Tell the people, tell our adoring, lovely commenters here who have been so awesome and have given us so many questions. Bonnie wants to know, what are you writing on? Are you doing writing on your stream? Yes. All right, so here's what we're going to do. CARROW, tell us all about you.
My name is Kara Brown. I am an urban fantasy author and the operations director for Otherworld Inc. I have a YouTube channel where I talk and whine about the life of a writer, sometimes under the influence of wine, normally pitching about a book I read recently and didn't like for your viewing pleasure. Occasionally, I do product reviews, and I also try to offer some kind of tidbit from me to you when it comes to any of this writing nonsense. If you would like to check my credentials and make sure I know what I'm talking about when it comes to all this writing stuff, I have a newsletter. It has a free short story if you sign up for it, so you can read it, peruse it, see if I know what I'm talking about. And if you don't like it, you can unsubscribe from the newsletter, and your name will remain in the unsubscribe box for the duration of forever.
Forever. Thank you very much, Savvy. Tell us all about you.
Hello, I am Savvy. My YouTube channel is Savvy Writes Books. I do videos about my writing process. I sometimes do book reviews, and I also talk about my life as a small business owner because I run a small business that produces books and stuffed animals for kids. So I talk about like the business side of running a small book business, and also I go into like some of the authors and businesses that are kind of trying to scam people out there. So I do a lot of videos like exposing pyramid schemes that are trying to rope in authors and small business owners and that kind of thing. So my videos are often very sassy. So if you like that, come visit my channel. It's a good time.
SassySavvy.com. No, that's not it. There's a link to her channel in the comments below. Robert, tell us all about you.
I have studied writing and storytelling and sequential art. I worked for quite a number of years in the comic book industry, and writing and storytelling is a passion, and that's what my channel is about. Dissecting all that on every level, and occasionally I'll talk about Star Wars and analyze some of those characters.
That's fantastic. You're so well, somebody's got our stream turned on. Somebody, I don't know who it is. It's not me for once. So thank you. So Robert is so modest because he's like, oh, I worked in the comic book industry. Let me just say that my son, when he realized that my AuthorTube stream buddy was Robert Jones, was like, Robert Jones, like, holy crap. Like,
yeah, I've been trying
Wikipedia or like Marvel wiki thing. I don't know, but he's big time. So come hang out with the famous people every Wednesday right here. All right. And Amy, thank you so much for all of your help today. Oh my gosh, it was phenomenal, phenomenal advice. And I will get your, do you have a channel, or are we just posting your Twitter?
I have a Twitter. Don't look at me like that, Carol. I have a Twitter now. It'll be in the link below.
All right, I will get your I'll get your Twitter from Carol, and we will post that in the description below. You guys give me a little time to do that, then you can go check out Amy. Amy, do you have anything you want to tell the lovely people?
Oh,
no pressure.
As much as I love what I do, I don't have a website, and it took Carol 8 months to make me get a Twitter. Like, I wouldn't expect much from me as far as social media goes. I love what I do, and I'm good at it, but I do not enjoy doing it for myself. And but if anybody is interested in me, there will be the link down below.
Awesome.
Certified, like I said, through UC Davis, and I'm doing it for like 3 years now. I'm familiarizing myself with the writer community more so now that I've been here for the last year or so. So I should be able to help anybody that's listening on this stream.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. And finally, last but not least, Nihilist Geek, also known as Michael, who has an awesome channel. And I actually linked to the first video below, but he has a really great video about what you need to be doing on social media. So the link to that is below. Michael, tell us about your channel.
I'm Michael, also known as the Nihilist Geek. In my channel, I do mostly, I do some author stuff. I also do reviews for books or TV series or movies. I'm writing my first, well, I'm trying to finish and publish my first science fiction novel. I mostly do science fiction, fantasy, and horror. And that's most of the stuff you'll see in my channel, along maybe with some crime thrillers or something, because for some reason I'm writing a lot of speculative fiction police officers, and I'm reading crime for this reason in the last couple of years. I also do stuff about comics, and yes, take a look. I'm mostly called out BBC at the moment because they've ruined my favorite show, Doctor Who.
Now, that's a whole separate live stream. Well, thank you so much for being here. If you don't already know, I am Lisa Daly. I'm a traditionally published author of 8 books. And I do writing advice on my channel. So if you want to write a book that you're really proud of and get it published, this is the place for you. So thank you, all of you, for being here today. Thank you guys so much for all of your amazing questions and comments. I'm so thrilled that you guys love this. So, and thanks to all of you for making this stream fantastic as always. So once again, I'm past 1 o'clock. It's 1:07. I try so hard. I'm time challenged. On another day, I can tell you all about all the exciting research that shows that people who are chronically late, they actually perceive time in a different way than normal people. That's me. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Carol's like, I don't believe any of that bullshit for 1 second. It's true. All right, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you for hosting.
Okay.